All right, well, I think we'll get started. If you have the ability to put yourself on mute while I'm talking, please go ahead and do so, and then we'll have some for discussion later. But thank you for joining us this meeting. Tim and I just wanted to take an opportunity to touch base with those participating in the Landing Blitz and the DRAIN campaign, our two main summer campaigns, primarily to go over some of the campaign materials that are available to you to use, and with the goal of sort of by the end of this call, everyone's sort of feeling confident in what's available to them. Not to imply that what we've made available is an exhaustive list of ways you could promote the campaign, but they're a starting point at the very least. And I think hopefully there's time at the end. We'd also love to hear your ideas about what other materials could be useful. Not that we could create those this year, but maybe something for a to-do list for future years. As you all probably know, the Landing Blitz and the DRAIN campaign are sort of our flagship summer campaigns. Really great opportunity to reach a lot of people. And so we've just created a few templates that can serve as starting points for you in your communications around the campaigns to your local audiences to try to spread the word about them and get people excited about them. And again, if you're joining us, if you put yourself on mute so that we can minimize the background noise. So I guess maybe I'm not saying anything new, but the first thing to think about when you're planning to promote the campaigns is to obviously think about who your audience is and specifically what outlets your audience uses. So it's likely you're partnering with some local organizations, either lake districts or friends of groups, and they all likely have a newsletter, email, listserv, and those are, I think, probably one of the most direct ways to raise visibility about the campaigns, because not only are you raising it among the members of those groups, but they can help you sort of spread the message further to those they engage with. And so with that said, for both campaigns, we've offered a sample newsletter article, and we have, are you sharing your screen? Yeah, okay. And Tim is sharing his screen, if you're looking at it on your computer, but in the box folder, I'm assuming you all have access to box, but in the box folder and under campaign resources, there is a folder for the Landing Blitz and a folder for the DRAIN campaign. In both of those folders, if you go to the 2017 folder, there is a subfolder with the campaign materials for the 2017 campaign for each. And you'll see for both there's a file called newsletter, and that is the file I'm talking about. This is a template for a newsletter article that you could send to local organizations or even like local community newspapers to promote the campaign. And you don't have to use these for verbatim, but you can certainly tailor them to your local audience or using your own voice, but these are just something to help get you started and hopefully make it much easier for you to send something out to promote to your local audiences. So that's one, so there's one of those for both campaigns and specific to those campaigns, and they just really have the main talking points. So, why we're doing this campaign, what steps, what are the behaviors we're promoting, and they both also include notes about our social media blitzes, which we're doing around them, which I'll talk about later, and the Landing Blitz has a bit about the story map, which I will also talk about later. So there's that. The other one to know about is both campaigns have a statewide release, and this is something that you don't really need to worry about. This is something that the DNR is going to disseminate. I just forgot to confirm this beforehand, but I think once the DNR sends this out, are they able to then sort of follow up with their local news media, or how does that work?
Yeah, so when the DNR sends out a news release, I am told repeatedly by the Office of Communications that we have one of the largest distribution networks of any, I guess, quote-unquote, publication, if that's what you call the DNR news release. I think it's over 10,000 media outlets get this. So this goes out in our Tuesday media packet. So you can find the DNR Tuesday media packet just by Googling DNR weekly media packet, and this will come up. So if you don't think, or if you want to follow up with your news organization or your local media, odds are they received it, but it can be really effective for you to follow up with the news release, especially from the DNR news packet, and say, hey, just in case you didn't see this, we think it would be great if you ran this in your local paper or a news story or a radio interview or whatever.
And it's especially effective if you have direct contact with any reporters that report on issues of natural resources or the environment. Follow up with them directly. And the other way you could use the state release is, again, if you wanted some talking points for if you're doing public outreach or you're writing things for other outlets and you just want some talking points, the state release is a really good place to grab those. And then another resource that's available for both campaigns is a set of sample social media posts and tweets. And so this is going to tie into our social media blitz, which I'm going to go into. I guess I can go into it now. But so a social media blitz, for those who aren't familiar with the term, essentially it's just sort of a way, like a sort of very short-term way to generate a lot of buzz on social media. I mean, social media, if you think about it as a communication tool, it's not long-term communications, right? It's sort of what's in the moment, what's happening right now. And so this is sort of a way to sort of generate a lot of buzz around, usually it's done around a specific event or a campaign, and just a way to raise visibility of that campaign and sort of the message of that campaign, and sort of tap into some of that normative power that social media has. So in terms of how you spread the networks or spread the message to your networks and reach a lot of people. And then another cool thing about it is that it's kind of what I would call a cheap experiment to try. And just to see how it goes, and so that's how Tim and I are sort of viewing the social media blitzes this year, is a really interesting and potentially easy way of generating a lot of buzz, but doesn't require a lot of resources, both financially and capacity-wise. So we're just giving it a go to see how it goes. But so for the social media samples, you'll see a list of sample tweets, which also could be used with Instagram, as well as sample Facebook posts, and use them depending on what social media outlets you use. And again, these aren't meant, you don't have to use them verbatim, you can certainly, but they're also just mainly to get you started. And the thing to make sure you do for both is to always use the hashtag that's associated with the campaign. And this is a way for us to keep track of who's participating in our social media blitz. So for the Landing Blitz, our hashtag is hashtag Clean Boats, Clean Waters. And then for the Drain campaign, it's hashtag Just Drain It. So make sure, again, whenever you're posting, you use those hashtags, and to make sure that your partners know whenever they post something, whether it's a picture or just a message, that they should use that hashtag so we can keep track of who's participating. And what Tim has on the screen right now, and if you're not looking at a computer but have a computer in front of you, so what we're looking at is Twitter. And we're looking at the social media blitz that happened for UMISC 2016, which is what does UMISC stand for again?
The Upper Midwest Invasive Species Conference.
So you can see there's hashtag UMISC 2016, which is this is a social media blitz that was tied to this conference, and a way of sort of generating that buzz and letting people know what's going on at the conference, and trying to sort of generate some community around this conference. So this is sort of what the end product of a social media blitz looks like, at least on Twitter.
Just to jump in quickly, want to build off of something Jenny said earlier about this being kind of about what's in the moment. It's kind of ephemeral. It comes and goes. And I think something I completely forgot about that I thought was a really cool, I guess, it wasn't a social media blitz because it wasn't really planned, so I guess if it wasn't really planned, you'd say it went viral. But the actual living scientist hashtag was really popular for about a week. Because I can't remember how it happened, but I think there was a scientist or somebody saying, you know, most people like can't even name a scientist, you know, even though they probably know one, they don't even know anyone that would quote unquote be a scientist. And that just kind of took off from there, and people from really all over the world were tweeting about, you know, I'm an actual living scientist, and this is what I do. And a couple of mainstream media outlets picked it up and started talking about it. So I don't think we expect Just Drain It to take off like this, but this is just a really good example of how effective these things can be and how things can just take off.
Well, you never know. We couldn't go.
Yeah, I mean, we could. Like, I mean, I know you guys can all produce some really awesome content, so I'm holding out some hope that this could happen.
And just along those lines, really, social media is as good as you use it. So I think the important thing to know about the social media blitz and how you can help with it is to not only use the hashtags, but really promote the social media blitz with your partners so that everybody knows about it. And so, you know, you can have your volunteers at the boat landings make sure that they know about the social media blitz so that if they're tweeting or if they talk to, you know, boaters who are, you know, visibly using a smartphone there, they can let them know or whatever it might be. So yeah, that is media blitz. And again, yourself if you're on call. And then one more thing to talk about, and then we'll have questions and discussion as much as y'all want. The last thing is the story map. And this is specifically for the Landing Blitz. And if you're not familiar with what a story map is, it's a relatively new way of telling stories using maps. So I guess pretty indicative of what the name of it is. But and so they've recently, I don't know how long, but in the more recent history of story maps, they're doing crowdsourced story maps, which means people out in the world sort of populate the map with their own stories. And so we're going to try this year with the Landing Blitz with the aim of getting people to share what lakes they care about and the things that they do to stop aquatic hitchhikers on that lake. And again, this is hopefully to sort of increase that normative power of behavior. So if you see a lot of people performing that behavior, then you feel more pressure to do that behavior. And so hopefully the online environment will help us do that. And so this is what at least our draft of it looks like right now. This is not live yet. We're going to make it live closer to the date. So it's a very simple landing page with a short description of what we're doing. And then if you click on, and the way that you would share, so if you or a partner or somebody at a boat landing wanted to share their story, they would click on the button that Tim just clicked on that says share your action. And you would, you know, if you have a photo, I mean, I think it really works best with photos. So you would upload your photo, and then you scroll down, Tim, and you can upload where you are, the name of your post, and then a little description along the lines of, this is how I clean my boat, or I love my lake, blah, 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 whatever you want to say about the lake, but a lot that will sort of help promote the actions of cleaning off our boats. And hopefully by the end of it, there will be numerous people posting, and this is an example of a crowdsourced story map that already exists. This was done by the National Park Service for their 100th year campaign, and they just had people insert their posts and of their memories in national parks. And so this is sort of what the end product could look like, sort of people posting their pretty pictures and their messages of why they love whatever park they went to and what their memory is. I think that's all I have to say about story map. I don't know, Tim, do you have anything else to add about it?
So I think the story map, I mean, it's going to be really cool if everyone participates, but I think I think the power of it is, really afterwards we can go back and revisit it and just, I think, look at the broad geographic scale of everyone we have involved with the Landing Blitz, because I think that's, the power of the Landing Blitz is that we have so many people involved all over the state, and we have numbers that reflect that, but I think really being able to show that on a map with pictures and stories that people can relate to, I think will be really powerful in showing this effort, and then showing everyone across the state how much people care about protecting our lakes from aquatic invasive species. So I think this will be a really useful tool that we can keep going back to, even months after the Landing Blitz is over, just as a storytelling and communications tool.
And the link that will be for our story map, it exists, but it's not live yet, but it is embedded within those communications materials I talked about earlier. So it's in the press release, and it's in the local newsletter template, and it's also in some of the social media posts. And so again, I guess, ask that you do what you can to get that link out there and let people know about it so that they can know where to post their story and their pictures. Yeah, and I think that's all I have for now, unless Tim has anything else. And we can, sorry,
Yeah, I don't have anything specific to add about the campaigns. I do know, though, that there are a lot more people participating in these campaigns than who are on the phone today. And we are recording this webinar, and I'll plop it onto YouTube after this. And so I think we would both really appreciate it if we have local partners, lake associations, anyone else that's participating in the campaign that could use these resources. We'd really appreciate if you all could forward along the YouTube video of this, just to help people get more familiar and more comfortable with all the tools that we have.
Cool. And so now we can open it up to questions, or if you have, do you have ideas for how you've promoted these campaigns in the past that you think have been really successful that you'd like to share with the group? We'd love to hear your ideas as well. So any questions and or stories to share of successes, or failures too, okay? We can learn from failures as well.
Hey, can you hear me?
Sounds like somebody might be talking. I don't know if we can hear you.
Can you hear me? This is Brad.
We can sort of hear you. Can you talk a little bit louder?
Hold on. Let me try this. Is this better?
Kind of. You're audible, at least.
How about this?
Slightly more audible.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess this is the best I can do. I'm just talking really close to my computer. But I just wanted to say to get some of these campaign materials out early is something that I've learned to do this year, so they actually get into the papers and the local media. I actually just today got all of my Landing Blitz and Drain campaign press releases kind of made and sent out to the people who are going to need to distribute them within the next month, and gave them specific dates to distribute them. I think that in the past couple of years, not doing that has made it just a little bit more difficult. So just to be sure that you're getting the stuff out early, and I know like with county government, there's a lot of processes that press releases need to go through. So to get it out now and kind of get it going through the mix, usually it needs to be at least a couple weeks out before they can actually put that into the local media. So just so people are aware on the local level.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. That's a really good point. You're absolutely right, especially when it comes to newsletters and email to listservs. People often have deadlines for or specific dates that they send out their newsletters. So if the Drain campaign is the beginning of June, maybe it goes, if they send a newsletter either end of May or the first week of June, you'd want to make sure that they have that newsletter now or within the next week or so that they can have it, they can make space for it. So thank you, Brad. That's a really good point. Any other questions or ideas to share?
Hey, Brad, you also have some experience with story mapping and purple loosestrife, correct?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have a little bit of experience with the story maps, not the same kind of story map that you guys are having though, but mine was more similar to like Glidden.
Is your experience, did you find it useful, a good tool for communications, engaging, fun?
It was a little bit harder for mine. We were trying to get a lot of younger kids to do it who didn't like. So I was focusing on 4-H with purple loosestrife, and so a lot of the kids actually didn't have phones themselves, so they had to use their parents' phones. So that made it sort of difficult. But the people who did it, yeah, it worked pretty well. It was very simple and not many photos were uploaded, but I think that the way you guys described it, and I was kind of in and out. A couple of people stopped in my office while the presentation was going on, but the way you guys were describing it seemed like it's a little bit more clear and cut and dry than the one that I was doing. So I think it'll go pretty well. I'm planning on posting some pictures and having some hashtags. So.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Well, if not, Tim and I sort of maintain an open door policy. If you have questions or ideas of other materials you'd like to see for future campaigns, please let us know and we can chat about it. And otherwise, I think that's all we have today.
So heads up, the past, I think, year or two, we've been out of, it might be publication WY002, the Drain Your Live Wells and Buckets, I guess, flyer. It's Deborah put it together the first year of the campaign, and it was an 8.5 by 11 sheet, different, essentially bookmarks on it. I just submitted that to the UW-Madison printing store today, so hopefully we'll have some in stock before the Drain campaign, and they usually turn things around within 2 weeks, so we should be able to send some of those out before the Drain campaign if you would like some.
And regardless, we can certainly put the file for it in the 2017 box folder so that, at the very least, you could download it and print it on your own if you're desperate. Yeah, thank you, everybody, and we hope, and thanks again for your participation in the campaigns, and good luck on your efforts.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.